Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My name's Edward Goodliffe, and I'm Speaker of Congress for Freedom Force International. Will you please put your seat backs in the upright position, the most uncomfortable position, fasten your seat belts, and prepare for takeoff. After yesterday, the reverberations will be felt for many years to come. It is like the Titanic is sailing across the ocean. The Titanic representing the global warming, the man-made global warming proponents. The great ship of deceit is sailing across the Atlantic. And yesterday, regrettably for them, they hit the iceberg. Everything appears normal and will do for a while, because let's face it, it'll take a while for the damage to be recognized. But mark my words, yesterday the damage was done. The news is not out yet. It will take a while to get the DVD produced, to get it distributed. But when people see the depth of the information that was presented yesterday, they will have to draw the obvious conclusion. And that is that this whole web of deceit is nothing more than an absolute pack of lies, and cannot be held up to scrutiny, because it is a pack of lies. Freedom Force is an amazing outfit. I told you yesterday it's an organization for individuals, and it's amazing there's anyone here, because the sort of people this appeals to are individualists, and they are busy doing their own thing. And that is, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, why we're in such a mess. Because the collectivists, they like to run other people's lives. And so they seek to get into positions where they can tell other people what to do and when to do it. They love regulations. We, however, individualists, prefer to be left alone. And if you look at the people that really make a difference in society, it is the individualists. I know Obama told us when successful people make a fortune, he says, they didn't build that building, somebody else did it. I beg to differ. They did build that business. The United States has been a fine example to the world of many people who have turned ideas into magnificent enterprises that have, quite frankly, changed the world. Now, talking about changing the world, Mr. G. Edward Griffin has spent many, many years researching. He is an amazing man, and I have learnt a lot from him, as have numerous other people. Quite frankly, he has changed my life. Understanding how the banking system worked answered a lot of questions. Understanding what was behind the United Nations. Many people are not familiar with his book, The Fearful Master. But The Fearful Master, when you look at that, it is aptly named, because it is terrifying when you see how the organization was set up and what it is really all about. Most people have never heard of Katanga. But if you look at what the United Nations did very soon after its formation, the disaster it caused in that part of the Belgian Congo, it was an absolute disgrace. And over the years, they have spread communism all over the place. People think that communism is the people rising up against the big, elite, powerful people, when nothing could be further from the truth. The big, powerful, moneyed interests, they are the ones that backed the communism. People like Anthony Sutton exposed this, and again, it is quite life-changing reading to see what he said. Mr. Griffin has been such a visionary that he, first of all, identified the problem. And it's a problem that very, very few people recognize. It is a titanic struggle between the individual and the group. You see, collectivism is where the group thinks that group rights trump individual rights. And we, as individualists, realize that the individual is what makes everything happen. There are no forests, there are only trees. If you look after the trees, the forest will look after itself. You look after the individual and make society in such a fashion that the individual can thrive, the whole society will be lifted up. It is the enterprise of the individual that makes everything great. All the great things in life are achieved by individual endeavor. Once you get the group telling the individual what to do, you take away that spark of initiative. No longer do you have those dreams being fulfilled. The dreams turn into a nightmare as the regulations and the taxation destroy that endeavor. If you look at world history, in fact, if you go back to Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, and you just read that book, you're going back a long way, but he explains very clearly why individual endeavor creates goods and services at the cheapest possible price. The free market is the way to generate untold wealth, but it really needs to be the unfettered free market. Lots of people speak out against capitalism. They say, oh, it's a terrible system. This capitalism is ruining everything. But they don't realize that we don't really have free market capitalism. What we have more resembles crony capitalism. We have what is effectively corporatism, corporate fascism, where the big, powerful, multinational corporations own the government. This has happened all over the world, and individuals are crushed under this mighty, mighty weight of bureaucracy. Getting back to Edward Griffin and his far-sightedness, he recognized this problem. And I must admit, for many years, I had no idea I was an individualist. I didn't realize it. It took me reading what he said to realize that that's what I am. He recognized the problem, and he thought, how could we get out of this mess? And from what he's told me, and he likes to tell the story often, is that the best way out of this dilemma is to see how we got into this mess. And how we got into this mess was the individualists were so busy creating wealth and living their lives, raising their families, enjoying life, making this a prosperous world. But while they were doing that, the people who wanted to control, the people who wanted to suck out of the system, they sought political power. They went out and they got their political power, and they then were able to pass legislation and strip away the rights and the opportunity from the very people who were creating all the wealth. I mean, we've all heard about Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged and how they went to Galt's Gulch to get away from it. But that's exactly what happens. It's exactly what happens. The people creating all the wealth are discouraged, they are regulated, and they are brought down to the lowest common denominator. We want to lift everyone up. Mr. Griffin's idea is that we should take back power for the individuals the way it was lost. Much as we individualists hate to join and participate in things other than our own enterprises, we have to seek office, we have to influence power centers, and we have to change public policy. The Freedom Force Manual, which I have right here, if you look at the Latin motto, it's effectively saying those without power cannot defend freedom. And that says it all. Why fight City Hall when you can be City Hall? What we have to do is we have to get like-minded, individualist-thinking people to join our organization, to go to those power centers and influence other people, make them realize what we're up against, seek office, and bring back the liberty that we have lost. It is a gargantuan task, and it would be very easy to say, oh, we haven't got a chance, we're going to be totally overwhelmed. But the fact of the matter is, the people who are calling the shots are few, and we are many. This year has been an incredible year for the awakening of mankind. It's been coming for a long time, but it is here. It is here, and it is now. The time is now. There is this massive awakening. We've just seen it in Britain. All the corporate media, all the establishment said that they were going to stay in the European Union. But the regular people like you and me, they thought, no, we're sick of the lies, we're sick of the deception, we're sick of all the taxation, the rules. We want our country back. And so what did they do? They voted to get it back. The same thing has happened in the United States. We had it month after month after month from everywhere you cared to look. They were telling us how terrible Mr. Trump was, how terrible he was, how wonderful Hillary Clinton was. And yet, when you looked on the alternative media and you saw the crowds turning out to see Hillary Clinton were very thin. Very few people. But Donald Trump, my goodness, the stadiums were full. And yet, the corporate media told us he has no support, he has no chance. But I could see it. Lots of people could see it. Anyone looking from afar could see it, that the American people had woken up to the deception. They realized that the lies that they were being fed by their corporate media were lies. And what did they do on election day? They voted in colossal numbers for Donald Trump. Now, I suspect, and it looks obvious to me, that there was massive vote rigging. There was massive numbers of people ineligible to vote and dead people voting, but they couldn't swing it because it was a landslide. The awakening is taking place. And as I said, yesterday, the Titanic hit the iceberg. There's going to be interesting things in the month ahead. I urge you all to spread the message of Freedom Force far and wide. Right now, we are a fairly small organization, but if we spread the word and people see that our foundation is solid, we can change the world, and we will change it.